Let's talk about Kash Patel, who spicy fireworks. He was given as good as he was getting. They don't like him. The Democrats don't like him. It wasn't going badly for him with the Republicans, which is really what he cares about. We kicked it off. Actually, Senator Tillis, who's a Republican, had a funny moment that went viral on X, and you'll see why. Here it is. Stop for
colleagues. I created a Kash bingo card that I have available to any of my colleagues who would like it on the other side of the aisle. Some may view this as an unserious caricature and not appropriate for this committee. Sadly, I consider it a serious caricature of what I expect to be witnessed today. I think we'll have words like enemies list and deep state. I've already X'd out 4 boxes in the opening statements alone. The fact of the matter is, some people will be here to simply substantiate a false narrative.
Okay, so I love that, the Kash Patel bingo card. And true to form, that's how it sounded. I'm going to kick it off with an exchange Kash had with Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, and she ran for president not long ago. And he really was not taking her, trying to give him the business. Watch.
Yes, asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
Okay, so a couple things I observed there. Grassley, who's 88, is still really strong. Listen to him yelling at her at the end, like, "Get off my lawn, you angry lady!" And she was like those Democrat women at the Pete Hegseth hearing, like, nah, 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 like a whiny, scoldy lady. And Kash Patel, every comeback he had in the entire hearing should have been punctuated with a boom. That's you could see him kind of doing it too, like boom, go. It was fun to watch. I don't think they laid a glove on him, but it wasn't for lack of trying, Glenn.
This is the thing that really amazes me, Megyn, and it's been amazing me for 2 years now. The Democrats keep saying with a straight face that they are concerned that first if Donald Trump won, and now if Kash Patel gets confirmed, that they're going to politicize the Justice Department in order to weaponize the Justice Department and go after their political enemies. And you're sitting there and you're watching this and you're thinking, I just watched you bring 4 felony cases against Donald Trump and openly admit that your election strategy was to make sure he was imprisoned prior to the 2024 election because you thought that was the best chance for you to win the election with Joe Biden. I've watched you spend the entire first Trump term unleashing Robert Mueller and every prosecutor you can find based on this bizarre conspiracy theory that Trump collaborated with the Kremlin, which came out of the FBI and the CIA because they hated Trump. And Robert Mueller himself ended up saying there was no evidence for it. They've done nothing but, the Democrats have, politicized and weaponized the CIA, the FBI, the entire justice system and intelligence apparatus. And then they have the nerve to turn around and say that because Trump is putting somebody in there who wants to clean that out, they're the ones that are going to weaponize the justice system. The level of audacity to this is almost impossible to swallow.
Yes. So on that subject, Dick Blumenthal of Connecticut, he comes out there trying to suggest that he, hold on a second, I want to make sure I get it. I can't find it on my SOT list, you guys, but it's the one where he's pushing him about whether he's going to protect FBI agents against retribution. Do we have that? Stand by as we get our act. Oh, so that's SOT 21. Yeah, here it is, SOT 21.
Will you commit that you will not tolerate the firing of the FBI agents who worked with the special counsel's office on these investigations?
Senator, I appreciate the time to visit with you.
It is a yes or no answer, and it is your first test.
Senator, every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments.
And I'm not going to accept that answer, because if you can't commit that those FBI agents will be protected from political retribution, we can't accept you as FBI director.
All FBI employees will be protected against political retribution.
Those individuals deserve to be protected from Trump retribution. That was your first test. You failed it.
By saying all FBI employees should be protected?
I mean, what more does he want from him?
Also, what they're really trying to do is basically create an immunity for people who broke the law. Let's assume that it is true, which of course it is, that people inside the FBI and these other agencies abused their power because they wanted to destroy Donald Trump because they disliked him politically, which of course we know. We've seen the emails of people inside the FBI saying exactly that, who brought the Russiagate investigation. Should those people be allowed to just continue in the FBI as if they never abuse their power, or should the people who abuse their power be removed from that position? Of course they should be removed from that position. They're trying to extract a promise from Kash Patel that he won't remove any of the people who did the Democrats' bidding by abusing these agencies and destroying their credibility. And he's saying, look, they won't be subject to political retribution, but obviously if people inside these agencies broke the law, of course they should be investigated. That's what it means to have a rule of law.
Yeah, if they misused their power, if they abused their power, they're gone. Finally, there will be some accountability. It's not a political payback. It's, you're horrid. You're trying to destroy this nation. Goodbye. Go find another job. I really enjoyed the exchange about what's going to happen with the FBI HQ because, you know, politicians like Ron DeSantis and others and Trump, but explicitly, and DeSantis made this a big issue, I've been saying we need to get the FBI out of Washington. This is not the place for this building. They need to, you know, touch grass, one of those kinds of things. And this came up in response to a questioning by Chris Coons, who's a Democrat from Delaware, with Kash. Take a listen to SOT 19.
How would shutting down the FBI headquarters impact its ability to prosecute violent crime and drug traffickers? How is that possibly a serious proposal, Mr.
Thank you
Patel?
for bringing that up and allowing me to answer. It was to highlight the significantly greater point that I was actually making in that interview, which is well documented over and over again. 38,000 FBI employees, 7,500 FBI employees work in the Washington field office and Hoover building alone. If you increase that aperture just slightly to encompass the National Capital Region, that is 11,000 FBI employees work in the National Capital Region. A third of the workforce for the FBI works in Washington, D.C. I am fully committed to having that workforce go out into the interior of the country, where I live, west of the Mississippi, and work with sheriff's departments and local officers, and having one agent prevent one homicide, and having one agent in Washington prevent one rape. And I will do that over and over and over again because the American people deserve the resources, not in Washington, D.C., but in the rest of the country.
And Mr. Patel, frankly, if that had been your statement, that would be something that would be defensible. It's the rest of it, saying you're going to turn it into a museum of the deep state, that causes repeated questions and concerns from people like myself.
Again, Kash could have finished with boom. But, you know, he's telling him what he means. And this pushing back on relocating the FBI HQ is ridiculous. They love to go through and find the silly podcast rhetoric, like the bellicose language. This is like another J.D. Vance childless cat lady, right? Like you said something provocative. Well, here he is, like telling you everything you want to know. And I really think he got Coons to stand down there.
Well, also, you know, look at what the Democrats are defending. They just got done with an election where they largely got crushed because they were perceived as correctly as the party of the status quo, as the party that defends even rotted American institutions that people hate. And now they're defending the pharmaceutical industry from more regulatory scrutiny. They're defending the U.S. surveillance state from being able to spy on Americans without warrants. And here they're defending the J. Edgar Hoover FBI building in Washington. And obviously, when Kash Patel is saying we should close it or whatever, what he's obviously saying is this was never intended to be some permanent part of Washington power. This was a law enforcement agency that was supposed to solve federal crimes, investigate and solve federal crimes throughout the country. Instead, it's become yet another arm of how Washington exercises power against the rest of the country. And we should take these resources and put them inside the United States, not putting them all in Washington, because that's how it becomes a political entity. When you're centering everything in Washington, everybody wants to work in Washington, be around Washington. Of course, it's going to then become politicized. And this idea of a museum to the deep state, we do have a deep state in the United States. Dwight Eisenhower warned about it 60 years ago on his way out in the of the office. It's a permanent power faction that exercises power regardless of the outcome of elections and outside of democratic accountability. And it used to be foundational on the American left to understand this, and now it's taboo to say it.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and the rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing right now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a very safe haven in very hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into an IRA in gold. And it won't cost you one penny, not one, out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Text my initials, MK, to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.